Wealth isn't a destination, it's a direction. Most people think earning more will solve their problems, but the real secret lies in becoming the kind of person who naturally attracts opportunities, influence, and money. The secret to building wealth that lasts isn't in how hard you work, but in how wisely you think, the people you surround yourself with, and the legacy you choose to leave. Today, we're going to unlock that secret. I want you to consider something very carefully. Most people spend their entire lives running after paychecks. They work hard, they put in the hours, they climb the corporate ladder or take on extra shifts, and what happens? The moment that paycheck lands in their account, it starts to vanish. Bills, rent, groceries, and obligations, just like water through a sieve. You see, the problem isn't the paycheck itself. The problem is that they never built anything that could keep working for them long after they clocked out. This is where the divide begins between those who are truly wealthy and those who remain paycheck to paycheck. Wealth is not about how much you earn. It's about what continues to earn for you when you're not actively working. I remember when I first realized this truth. I was working long hours, earning very little, thinking that the harder I worked, the better my life would get. Then, I met someone who had created a few simple assets. One was a small rental property. Another was a book he had written that continued to sell. He wasn't working harder than me, he was working smarter. Every day, those assets were earning money, even when he slept. That's when I understood the first secret of building wealth. You must own things that generate income for you, not just chase a salary. So how do you shift from earning to owning? It starts with perspective. Begin thinking about all the potential assets around you. Stocks, real estate, intellectual property, small businesses, or even skills that can be monetized. Each of these can become a money-making machine over time. For example, if you learn a high-demand skill and then create a course, suddenly your knowledge itself becomes an asset. If you invest in a piece of property, it can provide rental income, appreciation, and tax benefits. The key is not to wait for a windfall. It's to start small and be consistent. Pick one asset this month, another next month, and over time, you'll see compounding results that a paycheck alone could never provide. The practical step is simple, but it requires discipline. Take a sheet of paper and write down every potential asset you could acquire. Don't limit yourself to what seems big or fancy. Include stocks, small investments, skills, and even partnerships that could grow over time. Then, choose one to start with immediately. Commit to small, regular contributions, whether it's money, time, or effort. Wealth isn't built overnight. It's built by patient, intentional action. Every day that you invest in these assets, you're creating a future where money works for you rather than the other way around. Remember, a paycheck is temporary. An asset is permanent. Paychecks give you momentary satisfaction. Assets give you lasting freedom. Begin thinking like someone who owns, not someone who just works. The moment you shift your focus to acquiring things that generate income, your life begins to change. Your freedom grows, your security grows, and eventually, your legacy grows. I want you to think about something very seriously. Everyone talks about money, but almost nobody talks about time. And yet time is the most valuable currency you'll ever have. Money can be earned back. You can make another dollar if you lose one. But time that is gone forever. Every second you waste, every hour spent on low-value activities is a part of your life you will never get back. The rich understand this. The poor often ignore it. And that's one of the greatest differences between those who build legacies and those who simply chase paychecks. I remember when I first started to see the power of time in wealth creation. I was working long hours for modest pay, thinking that more hours meant more progress. But then I realized that my energy and focus during those hours mattered far more than the hours themselves. I knew people who worked fewer hours but created more wealth because they allocated their best time to activities that produced the highest return, not just busyness. That's when I understood that time, when used wisely, multiplies wealth in a way money alone never can. So, how do you begin to value your time the way the wealthy do? It starts with evaluating your daily activities. Look at the tasks you perform every day: emails, meetings, errands, social media, scrolling, minor chores. Ask yourself, does this activity generate significant value for me, my family, or my business? If the answer is no, that's where you can create leverage. Delegate it, automate it, or eliminate it. For example, I've personally seen massive results by outsourcing routine tasks that I was capable of doing myself, but which consumed the hours I could spend building assets, mentoring others, or learning new skills. The practical step is to take 1 week and identify one low-value activity to remove from your schedule. Perhaps it's a recurring meeting that adds little to your progress. Maybe it's time spent on non-essential errands, or a habit of checking emails every few minutes. Replace that time with high-value pursuits: learning a skill, strategizing a new business idea, writing a book, building an asset, or mentoring someone. Even small blocks of time, when dedicated to high-value work consistently, compound over months and years. Remember, it's not just about cutting time wasters. It's about investing your time in what creates long-term value. Money comes and goes, but time invested in building skills, creating assets, and serving others generates a return that lasts. When you begin to treat your time as the finite, irreplaceable resource it is, you stop chasing quick paychecks and start building wealth that endures. The wealthy understand that every hour is an opportunity. Every hour, a chance to grow, create, and leave a legacy. Don't let your hours be stolen by busy work or distractions. Decide today which tasks to delegate, automate, or eliminate, and redirect that energy toward activities that truly matter. Because time, more than money, is the ultimate multiplier of success. Let me share a truth that many overlook. Money does not follow effort. It follows value. You can work tirelessly, put in long hours, and exhaust yourself day after day, and yet your bank account might not reflect your labor. Why? Because people do not pay for activity. They pay for results. They pay for solutions to problems, for relief from pain, for ideas that make life easier, faster, or better. The reality is that wealth is attracted to those who deliver value, not those who are merely busy. Understanding this distinction is the key to transforming a paycheck mentality into a wealth-building mindset. I remember when I first started in business, I thought hard work alone would bring success. I worked long hours, followed instructions, and tried to do everything right, yet my results were mediocre, and my income reflected that. Then a mentor asked me a simple but profound question. Jim, what problem are you solving for someone today? That question changed everything. I realized that my effort was meaningless unless it produced results, unless it created value that others recognized and were willing to pay for. From that day on, I shifted my focus from working harder to working smarter, from activity to results, from effort to value. The strategy here is simple. Increase your ability to solve meaningful problems. Identify what people truly need, what frustrates them, what keeps them awake at night, and then position yourself as the person who provides a solution. This isn't about luck or timing. It's about skill, insight, and consistent improvement. It's about becoming irreplaceable because the value you offer cannot easily be duplicated. Over time, as your skills compound, the rewards multiply, not in small increments, but exponentially. Practically speaking, start with one skill that directly addresses a real need in the marketplace or your community. This could be anything: financial literacy, digital marketing, coding, communication, leadership, or a craft that serves a tangible problem. Dedicate at least 20 minutes daily to improving that skill. Focus on learning, practicing, and applying it. Even small, consistent progress compounds into mastery over months and years. Remember, the goal is not just competence. It is exceptional competence. People will pay not for mediocrity, they will pay for excellence, for the results that come from true mastery. Here's the beauty of this approach. When you become the person who consistently delivers results, the money naturally follows. You are no longer chasing a paycheck. You are creating opportunities. People seek you out because you make their lives better, because you solve their problems, because your skills turn obstacles into possibilities. This is the mindset of wealth. The realization that your income is a reflection of the value you provide, not merely the time you spend. So, make a decision today. Stop measuring your effort by the hours on the clock. Start measuring it by the results you create, the problems you solve, and the value you deliver. Dedicate yourself to mastery, to growth, to contribution. Because when value becomes your focus, money is no longer the chase, it becomes the natural reward. One of the most powerful lessons I've learned about wealth is that it grows fastest when you leverage. When you don't try to do everything by yourself, but instead use people, systems, and knowledge to multiply your results. Many people believe that to be successful, they must work harder, longer, and carry every burden on their own shoulders. That's a trap. Wealth is rarely built purely through effort. It is built through effective leverage. If you want to accelerate your progress without exhausting yourself, you must learn to harness resources intelligently. Think of it like this. A lever can lift 1,000 pounds with very little effort if positioned correctly. Your time, energy, and skills are the lever, and systems, people, and knowledge are the fulcrum that multiply your impact. I remember early in my career, I tried to manage every detail of my small business alone. I answered every phone call, wrote every letter, and managed every transaction. I worked long days and still felt like I wasn't moving forward. Then I met a mentor who said, "Jim, you cannot grow faster than the systems you put in place and the people you empower. Start multiplying your efforts instead of multiplying your hours." That advice changed the trajectory of my life. The strategy is straightforward. Identify the areas in your life where repetition, inefficiency, or limited knowledge is holding you back. Delegate the tasks that others can do. Automate processes where possible. Leverage mentors, coaches, or advisors whose knowledge is far beyond your own. This doesn't mean avoiding responsibility. It means taking responsibility for outcomes while letting resources amplify your efforts. By doing so, you free your most valuable asset, your time, for high-value creation. You focus on thinking, planning, and innovating rather than being trapped in repetitive labor. Practical steps bring this to life. Start by choosing one task you perform every week that consumes time but does not directly generate results. Maybe it's bookkeeping, scheduling, or responding to routine inquiries. Create a system, whether it's software, automation, hiring an assistant, or using a template that reduces repetitive effort. Over time, these small actions compound. One system leads to more time, more energy, and more focus on building real wealth. Knowledge is another powerful lever. Instead of learning only by trial and error, Seek mentors who have walked the path. Their experience is a shortcut that multiplies your progress while minimizing costly mistakes. Here's a truth that I've witnessed countless times. People who leverage consistently do not just work, they expand their capacity to produce results far beyond what effort alone could achieve. Leverage allows you to create multiple streams of income, grow assets, and impact more people without burning out. It turns one person into 1,000 because the system carries the work. So, decide today to start leveraging. Identify one repetitive task, system, or area where someone else's skill or knowledge can amplify your results. Apply it, watch your efforts multiply. Wealth, after all, is not a measure of how long you labor, but of how smartly you use your resources to produce results that endure. One of the greatest distinctions between those who merely survive and those who build lasting wealth is the ability to think long-term and act consistently. Far too many people focus on immediate gratification, measuring success by what they can gain today rather than what they can create over the years. The rich understand that true wealth is not won in a single transaction or a lucky break. It is grown over time, nurtured patiently, and reinforced through daily discipline. When I first began my journey, I thought the quickest route to financial freedom was chasing immediate opportunities, making more money this week, or striking a fast deal. But the reality I discovered was humbling. Riches are like trees. They require planting, watering, and care before they bear fruit. The philosophy here is simple. Wealth grows through patience and consistency. Those who understand this don't get distracted by the flash of a new purchase, the thrill of instant pleasure, or the temptation to measure themselves against others' successes. They understand that small, consistent actions, compounded over months and years, create results far greater than any single effort. I remember the first time I decided to truly apply this principle. I set a financial goal that seemed ambitious, to save and invest enough to secure my family's future. At first, the progress was slow. Each week, I tracked my small contributions. Each month, my investments grew incrementally. Yet, because I stayed consistent, over time the compound effect was profound. Small, repeated actions built something that would have been impossible through one-time efforts alone. The strategy is to trade short-term pleasures for long-term prosperity. Every choice you make, every expense, every hour you spend should be evaluated through the lens of your long-term goals. This does not mean never enjoying life. It means prioritizing your resources in a way that aligns with the future you desire. Think of it like building a house. You lay one brick at a time, day by day. Some days the work feels invisible, slow, and tedious. But each brick strengthens the foundation for the home that will stand for decades. The same is true for wealth. Practical steps make this philosophy tangible. Begin by defining one long-term financial goal, a retirement target, a business milestone, or a passive income level. Once defined, break it down into daily or weekly actions that move you toward that goal. Maybe it's investing a fixed amount each month, reading a book on financial literacy, or developing a skill that increases your value in the marketplace. Then commit to completing those actions consistently, regardless of how you feel, regardless of the distractions around you. The power lies not in how big or ambitious the individual steps are, but in their consistency over time. I've met countless people who abandoned their plans because they expected immediate results. They became frustrated and gave up, never realizing that success is rarely instant. It is the result of disciplined, persistent, and patient effort. By thinking long-term and acting consistently, you place yourself in a position to create wealth that endures, opportunities that compound, and freedom that lasts. So today, decide on your long-term target. Break it into small actions and follow through every single day. Wealth is the product of patience, consistency, and the courage to focus on the horizon rather than the momentary distractions at your feet. One of the most overlooked principles in wealth building is protecting what you create. Too often, people focus solely on earning more, thinking that opportunity alone guarantees lasting success. But I've observed a harsh reality. Wealth is lost far more frequently through carelessness than through lack of opportunity. A promising investment can vanish because of poor planning. A sudden illness or accident can wipe out years of hard-earned savings if there's no protection in place. And even taxes, when ignored, can quietly erode the fruits of your labor. Understanding this principle early is vital because the path to prosperity is not just about creating wealth, it is also about preserving it. The philosophy here is simple but profound. Wealth creation and wealth protection are two sides of the same coin. You can accumulate assets, develop multiple income streams, and master your financial skills, but if you fail to guard against loss, your gains can evaporate in moments. I remember when I first started to understand this principle in my own life. Early on, I was focused on building income streams without giving thought to what would happen if disaster struck. A minor emergency, a broken furnace at home, felt catastrophic at the time. That small event made me realize the fragility of financial progress when unprotected. It prompted a shift in thinking, a commitment to safeguarding everything I was working so hard to create. The strategy is to minimize risk wherever possible, insure your assets, and understand the rules that govern your money, especially taxes. Minimizing risk doesn't mean avoiding all challenges. It means being deliberate, thoughtful, and disciplined in your approach. Insurance is not an expense. It is a shield that protects you from events that could otherwise undo years of effort. Taxes, often ignored or misunderstood, are a necessary part of wealth preservation. The wealthy study them, plan around them, and make informed decisions so that they retain as much of what they earn as possible. Practical steps make this philosophy actionable. Begin by reviewing all insurance policies. Life, health, property, and any other protection relevant to your situation. Make sure coverage is sufficient and up to date. Next, establish an emergency fund, setting aside at least 3 months' worth of living expenses. This fund is not for indulgence. It is a buffer against unforeseen circumstances, a safety net that ensures your financial progress continues uninterrupted. Finally, educate yourself on your tax obligations, or seek professional guidance so that you're not giving away money unnecessarily. I've witnessed countless people work tirelessly to build wealth only to see it vanish through preventable mistakes. On the other hand, those who protect their assets not only maintain their progress, but gain peace of mind, confidence, and the ability to take calculated risks. Protection is not fear, it is foresight. It allows you to pursue growth boldly because you know the foundation beneath you is strong. So today, make a commitment. Review your safeguards, establish your emergency fund, and plan your finances with protection in mind. Wealth, once created and wisely guarded, becomes a tool for freedom, opportunity, and the legacy you can leave behind. Guard it as fiercely as you earn it, because preservation is the other side of prosperity. One of the most powerful secrets to building wealth is understanding that your income is a reflection of your personal development. Too many people focus on working harder, putting in longer hours, or chasing paychecks, believing that effort alone will create prosperity. But the reality is that wealth rarely exceeds personal growth. Your skills, knowledge, and ability to contribute value determine not only what you earn today, but also the opportunities available to you tomorrow. If you want to increase your financial potential, the first place to look is within yourself. Philosophically, this principle is rooted in the idea that value drives reward. People do not pay for effort. They pay for solutions, for abilities that make their lives easier, more productive, or more meaningful. When I reflect on my own life, I realize that every significant increase in my income followed a period of deliberate learning. Early in my career, I invested time in improving my communication skills. I dedicated myself to reading, attending seminars, and studying the methods of those who were more successful than I was. That investment didn't just improve my confidence, it multiplied my value in the marketplace and allowed opportunities to flow toward me that I could not have earned by labor alone. The strategy is to intentionally and consistently invest in skills that people need and are willing to pay for. This does not require you to master everything at once. Wealth is rarely a result of sudden brilliance. It is a byproduct of consistent growth, day after day. Identify a skill that solves a real-world problem, one that is in demand and has tangible results. Commit a portion of your daily schedule. 30 minutes is enough to developing that skill. Over weeks and months, small increments compound, just like money in a well-managed investment. The key is consistency. I've seen countless individuals start with enthusiasm but fail because they lack the discipline to practice daily. Skill building is a marathon, not a sprint. Practical steps make this philosophy actionable. Begin by choosing a high-value skill aligned with your career, business, or market needs. This could be technical expertise, a form of communication, leadership ability, financial literacy, or mastery of a digital tool. Once identified, block 30 minutes every day on your calendar exclusively for learning and practice. Treat this time as sacred, non-negotiable. Apply what you learn immediately. Theory alone is insufficient. Seek feedback. Adjust. Over time, you will notice that your capacity to solve problems expands, your reputation grows, and your income begins to reflect your increasing value. The beauty of this approach is that your personal growth compounds, just like interest on money. Each new skill opens doors to higher opportunities, greater influence, and increased freedom. You are no longer limited by hours in a day, but instead by the value you can contribute. Remember, in the marketplace of life, those who continually improve themselves are the ones who attract wealth naturally, effortlessly, and sustainably. So today, make a commitment. Identify a skill that addresses a pressing need. Dedicate 30 minutes daily to mastering it, and apply it consistently. Your future income is tied directly to the value you build in yourself today. Invest in yourself, and your wealth will follow. One of the most overlooked truths about wealth is that money is not a goal, it is a byproduct of value created. People often chase paychecks, promotions, or short-term gains, thinking that if they simply earn enough, they will become wealthy. But true financial abundance comes to those who solve problems. The marketplace rewards solutions, not effort for effort's sake. Every dollar you earn is someone paying for a solution to a problem. And the more significant and urgent the problem you can solve, the greater the reward you will receive. This principle applies in business, in personal development, and in everyday life. Philosophically, wealth follows problem solving because people always seek relief from pain or gain from opportunity. The rich understand this intuitively. They look for gaps, needs, and frustrations, and then they ask themselves, how can I make this better? Early in my own journey, I realized that my income multiplied when I stopped focusing on working harder and started focusing on thinking smarter. I asked myself where people struggled the most and how I could create solutions that made their lives easier or more productive. One of my first breakthroughs came not from selling more hours, but from providing a solution that others valued so highly they were willing to pay for it repeatedly. The strategy, then, is simple but not easy. Identify unmet needs, whether in your community, industry, or personal life, and develop ways to address them. This requires observation, listening, and creativity. It requires asking questions like, what frustrates people repeatedly? Or what do I wish I had when facing this problem? The goal is to become indispensable by being the person who consistently provides solutions. Solving a problem isn't just about inventing something new. It can be about improving a process, offering guidance, or making someone's life easier through your knowledge, skill, or service. Practical action turns philosophy into results. Start today by listing 5 recurring problems in your life, workplace, or community. Look for patterns. Are there obstacles that you or others experience regularly? Once you have the list, select one problem to focus on this month. Research solutions, experiment, and implement a strategy that alleviates this problem effectively. For example, if people struggle with managing time efficiently, you might create a simple tool or system that helps organize tasks. If a process in your workplace consistently slows productivity, propose an improvement that solves the issue. The key is to apply your effort towards something that matters, not just something that keeps you busy. Over time, this approach compounds. Each problem you solve builds credibility, trust, and demand for your abilities. People start to recognize your solutions as valuable, and money naturally follows. I've seen this principle work repeatedly, not just in my life, but in the lives of countless others who shifted focus from earning hours to delivering solutions. Those who consistently solve meaningful problems create wealth that lasts, influence that grows, and opportunities that multiply. So, commit today to observing, identifying, and solving problems. Build your life and your income around creating solutions rather than chasing money. When you become the person who consistently solves problems, wealth, respect, and opportunity will naturally follow. One of the most powerful truths about wealth is that it is as much about your environment as it is about your effort. You see, the people you spend the most time with shape your beliefs, habits, and ultimately, your financial destiny. I've watched countless individuals work tirelessly, yet never see true financial growth, simply because they surrounded themselves with those who doubted, criticized, or lacked vision. The rich understand this subtle but profound principle. Your income and success reflect the quality of your associations. If you want to rise, you must raise your environment. Philosophically, it makes sense. We are social creatures, and our brains adapt to the norms, language, and attitudes of those we spend time with. A person who constantly hears phrases like, "that's impossible," or "money is hard to earn," will eventually internalize those limitations. Conversely, when you immerse yourself in a circle of ambitious, disciplined, and value-driven individuals, their energy, ideas, and standards begin to influence your behavior. I've experienced this personally. Early in my journey, I sought out mentors who had already achieved what I desired. Just sitting in their presence, listening to their stories, and absorbing their strategies transformed my thinking and inspired me to act with greater focus and discipline. The strategy is clear. Be intentional about your associations. Seek out mentors who challenge your thinking, peers who push you to grow, and communities that encourage action, learning, and accountability. It isn't enough to merely read books or watch videos. Interaction with people who embody the success you aspire to creates a form of accelerated growth. You learn not just what to do, but how to think, how to prioritize, and how to navigate setbacks. When your circle values learning, consistency, and contribution, those values naturally become part of you. Practically speaking, start today by evaluating your current environment. Who do you spend the most time with? Are these individuals supporting your growth or keeping you stagnant? Once you've identified gaps, take deliberate action to upgrade your circle. Join a mastermind, an online forum focused on wealth building, or a local group of like-minded entrepreneurs. Attend seminars and events where the energy is constructive and conversations revolve around solutions, opportunities, and growth. Make a commitment to engage, learn, and contribute actively. Relationships are a two-way street. As you integrate into these communities, you'll notice subtle but powerful changes. Your mindset shifts, your ideas expand, and your ambitions grow. Challenges that once seemed insurmountable now appear as opportunities for innovation. And because wealth is ultimately a reflection of value creation, the people around you will inspire you to produce more, serve more, and think bigger. Remember, your financial destiny is not just about how hard you work, it's about whose standards, habits, and mindset influence you daily. Surround yourself with wealth-minded people, and you'll not only see results faster, but develop the character and confidence to sustain them. One of the greatest mistakes I see people make is relying on a single paycheck as if it were an eternal fountain. The truth is, wealth stagnates when your income depends on only one source. Life is unpredictable. Jobs change, markets shift, and opportunities come and go. If your finances are tied to one channel, you're walking a tightrope without a safety net. The rich, however, understand a fundamental principle. Income should flow, not stall. It should move through multiple channels, creating a steady, resilient stream that grows over time. This mindset separates those who build legacies from those who merely chase paychecks. Philosophically, think of money like water. A single stream may quench your immediate thirst, but if that stream dries up, so does your security. Rivers, on the other hand, are fed by countless tributaries, and their power comes from multiplicity. In life, we must emulate this principle by cultivating multiple sources of income, each one reinforcing the other. I've learned this firsthand. Early in my career, I relied solely on my paycheck and felt trapped. When I began to diversify, investing in learning, starting small side projects, and creating systems that generated revenue, my financial stress diminished and my opportunities multiplied. The strategy is simple. Build channels that allow money to flow to you consistently, even when you sleep or take a day off. This isn't about being greedy. It's about resilience. It's about creating freedom so you're never entirely dependent on one decision, one job, or one contract. Multiple streams of income are not a luxury, they are a necessity. They allow you to take risks, pursue your passions, and think long-term without being paralyzed by fear. The key is to start small but be consistent. Even a modest project, if nurtured over time, can become a substantial contributor to your wealth. Practically, begin by assessing your current financial streams. Do you rely entirely on your primary job, or have you created secondary sources of income? If you haven't, choose one avenue this quarter to develop: a small side project, a freelance skill, an investment, or even a digital product that leverages your expertise. Commit to it as if it were a business, giving it time, focus, and consistency. Track results weekly and iterate. Small wins compound over time. And what seems minor now can become a critical part of your financial ecosystem in the years to come. As you cultivate additional streams, you'll notice a profound shift, not just in your bank account, but in your mindset. You'll start thinking more like an owner, less like a laborer. You'll begin to anticipate opportunities rather than react to them. You'll realize that wealth is not a single paycheck or a single promotion. It's the culmination of multiple, consistent, value-creating actions. And when you embrace this philosophy, your financial future becomes not a gamble, but a garden you cultivate with patience, wisdom, and care. Remember, income should flow, not stall. Take action today, plant the seeds for your next stream, and watch your financial legacy grow. One of the most overlooked truths about wealth is that it is built not by emotion, but by principles. Too often, I see people make financial decisions on a whim, guided by impulses, desires, or the pressure of the moment. They chase the latest gadget, the hottest stock tip, or the flashy opportunity without stopping to think about the long-term consequences. This is the path that leads to frustration, debt, and missed potential. The wealthy, however, understand that emotions are fleeting, but principles are permanent. They make decisions based on a framework of consistent values, not on the roller coaster of feelings that arise each day. Philosophically, think of your financial life like a ship navigating the sea. The waters are unpredictable. Storms come, markets fluctuate, temptations abound. If you steer based on the waves, your moods and impulses, you will drift aimlessly and possibly crash. But if you steer according to a compass, your principles, you maintain direction, even in rough waters. This is why wealth is rarely the result of luck. It is the outcome of repeated, principle-based choices over time. I have seen it in my own journey. Early on, I made purchases and investments that seemed exciting in the moment, but had no underlying strategy. The stress and losses that followed taught me a lesson I never forgot. Principles protect you when circumstances fail. The strategy is to create a personal financial rulebook, a set of standards that guide every decision. These principles could be simple, like never buying something you can't afford, always saving a percentage of income, or investing only in assets you understand. What matters is consistency. Principles remove the guesswork and emotional volatility from your financial life. They turn chaos into clarity. They ensure that your actions, even when small, compound in the right direction, building wealth steadily rather than leaving it to chance. Practically, this is simple but powerful. Before making any significant purchase, let's say anything over $100, pause. Ask yourself, does this align with my long-term financial principles? Does it serve my future self, or am I serving a fleeting desire? Over time, this habit trains your mind to evaluate every decision through a lens of value, discipline, and foresight. You begin to distinguish between needs and wants, between growth opportunities and distractions. This pause, this moment of principle-based reflection, may feel inconvenient at first, but it quickly becomes second nature, and your financial life transforms as a result. When you commit to principle over impulse, you also gain confidence. You no longer feel the guilt, regret, or stress that often accompanies hasty decisions. You build a reputation with yourself for integrity and discipline. Each choice reinforces your identity as someone who is in control, someone who makes money, decisions with wisdom rather than whim. And as this identity strengthens, the wealth that follows is not just financial. It is a wealth of character, credibility, and peace of mind. Remember, emotions are fleeting, but principles endure. Let your financial decisions reflect your long-term vision, not your short-term impulses. When you act on principles, You build not just money, but a legacy. Pause, reflect, and decide with intention. Let your principles guide you, and watch your wealth grow steadily, safely, and consistently. When we talk about building wealth, far too often people focus solely on money, assets, and investments, forgetting the most critical asset of all, yourself. Let me tell you a truth that few will tell you directly. Your health is your wealth. Energy, focus, and clarity are the engines behind every fortune. Without them, even the best plans, the wisest investments, and the sharpest skills will underperform. I've watched people chase money tirelessly, sacrificing sleep, diet, and exercise, only to find that when opportunity arrives, they are too drained, too stressed, or too unfocused to seize it. It's like owning a powerful car but running it on empty. No matter how valuable the vehicle is, without fuel, it goes nowhere. Philosophically, think of your body and mind as your financial infrastructure. Your thoughts, decisions, and productivity all flow through this infrastructure. If it's neglected, worn down, or poorly maintained, it will fail exactly when you need it most. The wealthy understand this principle intuitively. They don't see health as separate from wealth. They see it as foundational. The mind that is sharp, the body that is energized, and the spirit that is resilient create opportunities, solve problems, and execute strategies with precision. I learned this lesson myself early in my career. I thought working longer hours and cutting sleep was a shortcut to success. I quickly realized that those who took care of themselves not only lasted longer, but achieved far more in less time. Their health allowed them to be consistent, patient, and creative, qualities that compound over decades into enormous results. The strategy is simple but often ignored. Treat your body and mind as critical financial assets. Consider each meal, each workout, each hour of sleep as an investment in your earning potential. This is not about vanity or extreme discipline for discipline's sake. It's about performance optimization. Wealth is created when you can show up fully, think clearly, and act decisively. If your energy is low or your mind is foggy, even the most lucrative opportunities can slip through your fingers. Successful people schedule their health like a meeting with their most important client, non-negotiable, prioritized, and protected. Practically, this means committing to daily movement, balanced nutrition, and sufficient rest. Movement could be as simple as walking 30 minutes a day, stretching, or resistance training, enough to keep the body functioning efficiently. Nutrition means fueling your body, not just filling it. Choosing foods that maintain energy and mental clarity rather than cause crashes. And sleep is non-negotiable. 7 to 8 hours a night restores the mind, strengthens memory, and regulates mood. These habits compound over time. Just like investing money, each day you prioritize health, you are laying another brick in the foundation of your personal wealth. The payoff is undeniable. With your health optimized, your focus sharp, and your energy high, every financial, personal, and creative effort becomes more effective. You will make better decisions, seize opportunities faster, and sustain effort longer. Your wealth building is no longer hindered by fatigue, stress, or illness. It accelerates. Remember, the richest accounts in the world are useless if the body and mind cannot utilize them. Guard this asset. Nurture it. Invest in it daily. Treat your health as your first, most critical wealth, because without it, nothing else can truly flourish. Ladies and gentlemen, wealth is not just a number in your bank account. It is a reflection of the choices you make daily, the principles you live by, and the value you bring to the world. The difference between those who build legacies and those who chase paychecks is not luck. It is discipline, vision, and philosophy. Every dollar you earn, every moment you spend, and every decision you make is a seed planted for your future. The question is, are you planting weeds or are you planting orchards? The truth is, no one else will do it for you. The government won't build your wealth. Your employer won't build your freedom. Only you can make the choice to rise above short-term comfort and step into long-term prosperity. It begins with the smallest actions, saving consistently, learning daily, surrounding yourself with the right people, and protecting your energy. So here is my call to you. Start today. Don't wait for the perfect time. Don't wait for permission. Decide now to think differently, act differently, and live differently. Build value, build assets, build discipline. Wealth is not pursued, it is created, and the power to create it is already in your hands.